Media is all around us. Our students and youth are consuming media, TikTok, Instagram, everything. But to us, media literacy isn't just consuming media, it's also creating media, it's also analyzing media, and then especially in these day and ages, source evaluation, media evaluation to make sure that what you're consuming is truthful and factual.
So great to have you on the show. Merek, we were actually chatting a little bit about food before we came on live because I know you're a foodie.
Yes.
And this is your first time in New Orleans. So I'm curious, what's some good food
I
that
had to
you've
get
had?
all the foods, gumbo, jambalaya, and I never see etouffee anywhere else, and I'm
Okay.
a big fan. I'm going that route from now on. If I ever see it, that's what I'm ordering at a Cajun restaurant.
Nice.
Yeah.
Angel, what about you? Is this your first time in New Orleans?
Yeah, this is my first time in New Orleans, so definitely the food was super awesome, but the live music has been amazing. Before ISTE, I was staying on Frenchman Street, so just around the live music everywhere on the streets, in the bars and clubs, it's been awesome.
Awesome. I know New Orleans is a unique experience for sure. So great to be back here in person finally at ISTE. And I know you all both presented yesterday about some video projects that you're having students do. We actually just saw a short clip from an example of a student-created video project, so amazing. And they're submitting those projects through Project Media with KQED. I'm curious to know just what were you having teachers do in your presentation yesterday?
Yeah, so our presentation was specifically for STEM teachers to create science documentaries with us during our creation lab so that they can implement video projects and documentaries with their students in the classroom.
Awesome.
And then they saw some student examples that my students did, and also just kind of answer some logistics questions on what that would look like in their classroom and what different apps are out there for students to use and to help them navigate their projects if they choose to do it.
Now, I know obviously these video projects are supporting content, supporting STEM. They're also supporting media literacy in general. So I'd like to start there. Why is it important for us to be teaching students about media literacy?
Totally. I mean, media is all around us. Our students and youth are consuming media, TikTok, Instagram, everything. But to us, media literacy isn't just consuming media, it's also creating media, it's also analyzing media, and then especially in these day and ages, source evaluation, media evaluation to make sure that what you're consuming is truthful and factual. So that's what media literacy is to us.
Yeah, and I think like at school, I saw a statistic that 99% of public schools in the United States have Wi-Fi access. So like, where's the one place that they can get the skills to actually navigate the web and evaluate what they're actually looking at? For those, like when they go down those 2 a.m. like deep dives on YouTube or whatever videos they watch, to kind of like what resources are there to actually help them with that process. And that's, I think, where schools come in, and also the creation of media so they can uplift their own voices as well.
I'm sure it's about, yes, these future-oriented skills and about the content, also about student engagement. Students must love doing these kinds of projects.
Totally. I think that, and Merek can speak to it more, because our youth are consuming so much media, they already have so many examples of what they like, visuals they like, sounds they like, and so bringing that into the classroom engages them more. It's just a more fun way to maybe do something like a lab report or an essay or a presentation, right? You're communicating maybe the same information, it's just in another format, which would be video or even podcasting or audio. So.
Yeah, when I talk with my students, they already make like Instagram stories. They already have TikTok accounts. They know how to do a lot of the editing itself. It's just, we're doing something that I normally do in my everyday life, but it's in school. So definitely with the engagement, and it's impressive. They actually know how to edit videos better than I do because they do it, and they're like, I know in their personal lives, it's like, how many views did you get? Like, how many likes did I get? And so it's cool that they have an avenue to practice that in the classroom with content.
Now, I checked out some of these videos, some of the other ones online, and I think sometimes when people think of video, they're thinking about video like we're doing right now, that you're in front of a camera, and it's not necessarily that, though. There are different types of videos. So can you talk a little bit about the different formats? Because I think that might actually make this type of project less intimidating, perhaps for teachers? That it's not that you have to teach students how to use a camera and lighting and the mics and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, totally. I mean, there's so many different formats. I think that if you have your students create a presentation on Google Slides, they can make a narrated slideshow where they're writing a script still. They're still storyboarding because they need to put the images in a story format that, tells the point that they're trying to make, but they can practice that narration, that communication that way. They can draw cartoons. So Merek has some of his students draw cartoons for his documentaries. There's stop motion, which is super awesome too. So students don't need to be in front of the camera. They can be behind the camera and just choosing different ways to communicate what they want to do.
Talk a little bit about the cartoons. I saw one of those videos as well.
Yeah.
Was a video about quantum physics that was really cool. And I'm curious how you're having students do that.
It's honestly, that's where the student choice comes in, and we provide them, you can take it this route however you want. And there are certain students that just really love drawing art, and so they talked about microwaves and how dangerous they could be. But from their own experience of burning pancakes in a microwave for putting it on for 5 minutes. So kind of bring in that personal narrative story, but also you're talking about, certain students feel comfortable in front of a camera, other students don't, and just give them means to express themselves and to engage in content in a way that is not just a multiple choice test. It's not just some written problems. It's, I can see this in my everyday life. And that's what I think video has to offer. And it's not just video, but also infographics and anything which they can incorporate skills beyond just pen to paper or mouse to bubble on a multiple choice test.
Yeah, a lot of times we hear these ideas in a more theoretical realm that you should be offering students a lot of choice. We should be addressing learner variability. It seems like a video project like this is a way to make that happen, and also a way to make learning relevant, authentic, and valuable for students as well. Have you found that teachers are also feeling that change when they do a project like this, that when their students are engaged in choice-based, relevant, valuable, authentic projects, that teachers are excited and also feeling more engaged?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think that especially for teachers who've been in the classroom and know their content super well, it could get pretty repetitive in terms of the projects that you get, and so giving students choice to really be passionate and curious about the way that they're not only communicating via cartooning or footage or whatnot, but also with the topics that they have. It's interesting as a teacher to grade those projects and to even know your students better based on the way that they communicated in video and the topics that they had.
I love that you brought that up, actually, this idea that novelty, which is an important part of engagement, is also important for teachers as well. And I'm curious, since you do these projects, Merek, if you have, I'm sure, grown your own skills in video creation, and if that also kind of helps you feel engaged and excited about your teaching.
No, I think having support, and KQED offers a lot of support in terms of having the actual content, but actually having a chance to make my own videos and to kind of be almost wait in expectation on submission day to see what my students create. I don't know if maybe your students were different when you were in the classroom, but I know for me it's kind of a lot of Thursday, 11:59 p.m.'s a due date. Let's see what happens and let's see what submissions come in, or they ask for extensions and different things like that. But it's just really neat to see their creativity, and it almost challenges me. Like I said, a lot of my students do what I like making videos. They're better at it than me. They watch my student examples. I watch my videos. I always ask them, what could I have done better? And that's their favorite question, because I get a long list of on the Google Slides, a long list of bullet points I could have done better. But yeah, and I learn a lot. I get challenged. That's part of the process. And that's I think teachers love coming to ISTE, is because they get to see new things and say, how would this look like in my classroom? And video projects and media projects as a whole, I think, really lend itself to that.
So if a teacher is watching this right now and they're interested in getting started with implementing some video projects, but maybe it sounds a little bit intimidating, what suggestions do you have? What resources could they use?
Yeah, so KQED has an amazing education department, and so we have a ton of resources for teachers. If they go to teach.kqed.org, that is our platform for educators to get more professional learning opportunities in media creation and media literacy. So we have 10 self-paced courses there that are free, that teachers can take whenever they want. So it's not time bound or anything, but there are instructors. So I'm one of the instructors, and two of my other colleagues are actually here at ISTE too, who are instructors in the course. And so they go through learning the fundamentals of maybe like video production, but then they also are thinking about how it looks in the classroom. So they'll be lesson planning, they'll create their own video, and then they'll also get feedback from us, the instructors. So I think that that's really cool. And then also we have virtual workshops all the time. So especially because summer is a great time for teachers to do PD. We have a ton of different workshops throughout the summer where teachers can just go onto Zoom, and then we can talk about video production, audio production, just implementing media projects in general. I think that's, and not just the production part, but just the implementation part is something that folks should think about. So we just have a lot of offerings for teachers.
Merek, I'd like to hear a little bit more about implementation. So again, I think with videos that can seem a little bit intimidating. Do you run a fully project-based learning classroom, or is this something that maybe a teacher that doesn't have that kind of complete full project-based learning setup would still be able to implement? And kind of what does that look like? Are we talking a month, a week?
That's a great question, because I know time's always at a premium. And I'm a biology and chemistry teacher, so I don't really have a project-based learning background. And I actually gave my students a week to work on this project, or take that back, about a week and a half, so about 7 school days to work on this project. And most of the time in class is just working on storyboarding, because that's the hardest part, is if they can get a script and storyboard together, then they basically made their video. It's just getting a chance to do that in a classroom and then let them edit at home. I think something to consider is that a lot of our students, some students have video making backgrounds, but others don't. So I actually ran this twice in my class, just once at the beginning of the year on a specific unit in chemistry, and I ran it at the very end. And it's kind of cool just to see student growth in that way. And at least for a science teacher, people don't think, oh, you're making videos, what does that have to do with the content? But if you look at the next generation science standards, just an opportunity for them to communicate their information. And that's a lot of what scientists do, is take knowledge and communicate in a way that people like you and me can understand and can actually use in their everyday life.
I know when I started working with video, I definitely thought it would have to be a month-long thing, and discovered that you can do videos, particularly some of these voiceover type videos, or I'm sure even once students learn how to do the cartoon videos, those can be done in a week period of time. It doesn't have to be a prolonged, extended project. And I think that another key aspect of it that I've also noticed with your work is that it's not that those 7 days happen and then it's done. There's a publication element to it as well. So I noticed that you publish these. You even have a contest, right? If I'm understanding correctly, it's more of a it's
more of a challenge, actually.
A challenge.
Yeah. So because KQED is public media, we have the opportunity to uplift youth media more than maybe another nonprofit could. And so we have our Youth Media Challenge showcase. So if students decide that they want to make a science documentary, they can publish their video onto our showcase. And because we're public media, we can even uplift that more to broadcast. KQED has a radio station and also a TV station. Obviously, we have digital streaming and platforms too, and so we can uplift youth voice even more, so then that their documentaries and their videos can reach an audience outside of their classroom. So I think that that's a super cool and unique way for students to also be a little bit more engaged, to know like, oh, it's not just my teacher that's going to see this, maybe not just my classmates, it's actually going to be folks that I have no connection with, because once something is published on the internet, right, it's a shareable link, you can, blast it out to anybody, and then folks who just come to our showcase can search for different videos of different topics, and maybe a student's video will pop up there, and then somebody can see it.
And I think it's really cool for teachers and for students as well, because I can go in and say like, hey, like we're doing this project, and let's see what a student from Rochester, New York made. Let's see what a student from Virginia made, and we get to get these different examples, and like, oh, so there's more buy-in in terms of, oh, they're doing it as well. Let's see what direction they took it, and that you can post, and you're helping other students potentially on their projects as well by creating examples that others can see. And I really like that aspect too, because it's not very often that work gets out of the classroom. It kind of just stays in the classroom, and that's where it kind of just lives, or dies. I don't know. So just a chance for it to kind of move out and into a public setting, I think, is really cool for the students.
Yeah, it's a shift from a one-way publication, from the student publishing essentially to a teacher, to publishing much more publicly. They are a lot more invested, I've found, when they know that their peers are going to be looking at something, in particular this next step of giving them the opportunity to publish in a safe space, but in a much more public way. So that's, I think, also really powerful. I love that aspect of it. I got to ask you, I want to talk a little bit more about the documentaries, but I also know that you do this, you have an interest in this intersection of technology, media literacy, and food.
Yes.
And I'd love to know how that ends up playing out in your classroom. Do you have students do work that also incorporates food, and what does that look like?
Definitely. So I went to UC Davis, and a food science program is what they're kind of known for, and that's what I studied. And I learned you can do learn science and also have fun in the process. And so my favorite lab I do is actually an ice cream lab. We actually partner with local ice cream shops, and we've had owners of shops come in and judge my students' ice cream. Through grants, we were actually able to buy if you've been in a science classroom, you might know the ice in a bag with salt, and then shake the bag, like actually ice cream makers. And then they go through the process and they learn about thermochemistry in the process. And another lab that I like is similar to that is we actually have the students try to make the best tasting cup of coffee in the most energy efficient manner. And it's a challenge where they actually create videos of their coffee making or infographics. And it's pretty fun because to watch them go from I'm not drinking this black coffee to I can actually taste some sweetness in it and actually taste what they're doing and make it more relevant than just let's dump it down the sink. Although some of my students do dump it down the sink, they're like, I'm not drinking this. I don't know how you drink this stuff, but it's just really neat to see it come to life and something that we all eat, so it's relevant to them.
Yeah, I think it's actually really this point about the way you're implementing it is really important. So it's not that suddenly you're doing everything on the computer. These are still hands-on projects. Their students are actually making ice cream.
Yeah.
And then there's some layer of media literacy that's being added onto it at the end that's also functioning as a reflective piece, essentially, to be able to put together all the information and really create something new, do something that's really implementing higher order thinking. Is that true?
Yeah, it's just it's like a conclusion to a lab report, but it's visual, and they're still communicating their own experience, but also something that they can share out with others, because others might be interested in learning about how to coffee and ice cream making stuff. That's not that's something that might actually be of relevance to someone versus, and I'm not saying that's not relevant to everyone, but if you're a copper sulfate lab and as it dissolves, and then it's kind of okay, okay, that's cool, but something that's relevant to the students and to a larger audience, I think it's pretty neat.
So if you were going to give a tip to a student, or not a student, a teacher, who's also a student, right, of sorts, that wants to get started, they want to get started right away, they go to KQED and they can take a course. Was that what you would recommend?
Yeah, I mean, we have courses, we have workshops, but honestly, I mean, it's so cool to be at ISTE, and there are so many EdTech companies and apps that they can use. I think honestly, just jumping in. So we tell teachers to use Adobe Creative Cloud Express. It's free, it's web-based. WeVideo is also free and web-based. And kind of just jump in and make your own video. KQED's pedagogy is learn by doing. So in all our workshops, teachers make videos, podcasts, infographics, because it's really when you experience something and you actually make something that you're more bought into it. And so to not be so afraid of the apps and the programs and the actual creation and just jumping in and doing it.
I'm glad you brought up Adobe Creative Cloud Express. That's what I used as well when making videos with students, and it's such an effective tool for entry-level videos because you can do those voiceovers. They come with automatic transitions and things like that, so they look professional without a lot of additional work. And I think that's an important part of it for students as well, that we want it to also be well presented. They want their work to look professional, and Adobe's products help students do that and do it in a pretty low risk way. And then if students want to add video, like their own video, they can. So it also has some upgraded elements as well. I'm curious, Merek, what's next? Do you have any ideas in mind for some fun projects? You got to be thinking about some cool stuff you want to do with students next year.
Yeah, I always think about like I've tried to focus more on like the local community, and we've had a lot of environmental issues come up. Like we have a lead battery acid plant that's seeking extension into the community. So like trying to look at what issues the community is talking about, and I teach in a lower SEL community, and so there's always these different issues that come up that tie to science, and ways to kind of have them dive into an issue, learn both sides, and create media to kind of outreach to the community. And that's kind of the direction we're going. Food is kind of limited in terms of I don't have ovens for every class, but just different things that I know that are on the hearts of the people that they live with, the people that surround them, and then trying to build from there, because that's what's relevant to them, and to have an authentic audience that I know will want to hear what they have to say. Yeah.
Well, Merek Chang and Angel Valerio, so great to have you on. If we want to follow your work, see the work that your students are doing, see the work that you all are doing, where should we go?
Yeah, I mean, you can follow me on Twitter. It's Valerio KQED. And then you can go to kqed.org/education, and all our resources are there. You can check out our Youth Media challenges through there, our Youth Showcase through there, so you can kind of just explore our resources and even sign up for our newsletter so you can get updates from us.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what my Twitter handle is right now, which I forgot. So I think it's Workman, or it's Mr. Chang Science. But if not, you can see my work or my students' work on KQED's Youth Media Challenges, because they'll be submitting there and sharing their voices with the community at large.
We'll be sure to also put the links. We can put the links to your Twitter profiles and also to the documentaries on KQED's website, so that people can check them out and be inspired and start doing some really amazing hands-on real-world projects with students. So thank you so much for coming on today and chatting with me.
Yeah,
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Sam.